I don't know if you have any awareness or sort of consciousness about the historical significance of the word trap and its racial associations. Do you?
No. Is it? I guess in the group me, someone said something about an event to celebrate whiteness, and then they accused me of cosplaying and blackface, which I haven't. I have no idea where that is.
Yeah.
Someone said apple pie is African American, but I'm pretty sure it's just American.
Yeah. So I just want to disentangle
Okay.
some of what might seem to you to be confusing or unclear
Okay.
associations that are being made with the word or the concept of trap.
Okay.
So there are two sort of like distinct ways of thinking about the word trap that relate to your correspondence being characterized as racially insensitive.
Okay.
So in one paradigm, we would think about the word trap through the lens of a sort of crack den or a crack house. Okay, so that's like one social reference for it. The sort of racial associations with that connotation would sort of be bound up in some of the, the drug use that has been historically associated with poor black and brown communities in this country. So that word trap can be triggering for black and brown communities that have either been affected or deeply impacted by that sort of racial rhetoric, that type of stereotyping, that type of prejudice. So that's just broadly one way to think about it, and then the historical significance there would be related to sort of the war on drugs and then the war on crime and the ways in which that's contributed to mass incarceration and felon disenfranchisement. And so there's a rich history there that's sort of just like bundled into the kind of the nerves of that word specifically.
Okay.
On the other, in another paradigm, you have the word trap, which refers specifically to a genre of hip-hop music, which is specifically black hip-hop music. And in the past, college students, namely fraternities and sororities throughout the U.S., tend to have events where they celebrate black culture, black tradition, sort of as white people, through mockery. And so they would use charcoal, and they would sort of paint their faces with the charcoal, and it would sort of be a form of blackface. And they would do it sort of in the name of black hip-hop, black tradition, maybe for some of them celebrating it, but it also has historical significance for black communities because it's its relationship with blackface, which, as you know, stems as far back to the antebellum period, when black people couldn't act in theater, and so white people would perform as black people, and sometimes they'd even perform as slaves, and they would wear blackface. So the use of the word trap and like the way that like blackface has lived on through events that involve the word trap or involve blackness or involve hip hop can be even more deeply triggering for black communities, right? So that's also seen as racialized. And then you compound that with the fried chicken reference, which is also a reference that is often used by the white majority to sort of like characterize the cuisine and so the culture of black communities. And it's also been used to undermine arguments that structural or systemic racism have contributed to health disparities in the U.S., and is also sort of offhanded comments made often about why black communities tend to be more overweight. And so there's a lot of like racism that's even tied into like the use of the word for fried chicken with trap. And then I also think some people were offended, although it wasn't as clear, with sort of the basic bitch part of the email, which I think, is problematic in part because it references women in a certain type of way, and I think it's namely affecting for white women, but it also felt like it was derogatory and so gendered. I just wanted to provide you with this context and this background as a way to educate you, not as a way to make an assumption about what you should have known or been aware of or conscientious of at the time you wrote the email. And I don't want you to feel like this is a moment to like provide an argument that might oppose you know, any one of
Yeah,
those.
I think I'll just not use the word anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I've used it openly for months and no one said a thing.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been better if someone had said something at any point.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate.
And I do think, you know, to be quite frank, that like as a man of color, you know, there probably isn't as much of a scrutiny of you as there might be of sort of a white person in the same position. And I just want to acknowledge that there's a complexity to that too.
Yeah.
I think the emails association with FedSoc was very triggering for students that already feel like FedSoc. It belongs to political affiliations that are oppressive to certain communities through policies, right? That of course obviously includes the LGBTQIA community and Black communities and immigrant communities, and you know, and so there's just a lot I think of social and political rhetoric that was just sort of on the periphery of what you wrote. And so for you, it's not immediately obvious because of perceptual segregation and experiential segregation. And I think that like I just want this conversation to be a moment to check in with you and think, how in our role as student affairs professionals can we help you?
I'm glad we're having this talk because I wasn't gonna like walk around looking for somebody to talk to, but I was just hoping that someone at some point would actually come up and talk to me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get this email from you guys until this morning.
Yeah.
No one posted in the group me other than Sonora's final response since 10:14 p.m. last night. So I was thinking I would just run into someone at some point and they would like have this talk. But I guess we're already having this. But I guess one thing, am I being accused of like discrimination and harassment in like the specific targeting people sense? Because that's how the email from you guys kind of read.
So a student did bring a complaint that like this email was a form of discrimination. I think sort of the harassment piece might be more related to like how this has been psychically damaging and psychically harmful. But I do think that like it's important to at least just acknowledge that one of your classmates did see this correspondence as being discriminatory, and then another read it just plainly as being anti-Black and perpetuating anti-Blackness. So I just want to know from you, like, how you're feeling about all of this, what you would like